Hi, it's Helen with So Kind of Wonderful, and this video is all about making the patchwork for the Big Dipper butterfly. And this is number 4 in our Butterfly Fields book. So this is what we'll be making. We'll be making 2 of these patchwork squares. They will be 5 inches at this point, and then when they're sewn into the butterfly block, they are 4.5 inches finished. So let's get started. Here is the butterfly, number 4, Big Dipper. So this is based on a traditional patchwork block that was in an old book. There are many names for this patchwork, but it's just 9 quarter square triangles with an accent color in the center to really give it some interest. These blocks are made exactly the same. And this is the first time we will be making the quarter square triangle, where we're going to do half square triangles and then we're going to do them again so we get the quarter square triangle. So let's go ahead and look at the steps for making quarter square triangle. So in our book, it tells us to see page 39 for more instructions. Oh, that is for cutting. We are looking at 33. So if we look at 33, this gives you the step-by-step. So, we flip back. We have 7 of the maroon and 7 of the plum. And then we have 2 of the maroon and 2 white. So we need to do the same thing, but you're going to work in, oh yes. So this one actually walks us through. So the first thing we're doing is we're making 7 and 7 will give us 14 half square triangles that are plum and wine or maroon color. And then this will give us 4 half square triangles that are cream and maroon. So we're going to do that just how we've been doing it. I'm going to go ahead and make those. You're going to cut them in half and press them, but do not square up. So this is the first time we're going to sew again, and then we'll square up to 2 inches. Okay, I have sewn up my 2 maroon and 2 cream. And here is my 7 maroon and 7 plum. So now I'm cutting them apart. I chain piece this. Seems to be the quickest, fastest process. Okay, now I'm cutting these apart. So we need to cut them all apart, either on the drawn line or from point to point. And then I'm going to square these up. Nope, sorry, do not do what I just said. I'm going to press these, and I'm going to press this seam open. And I'm going to do that with all of these. Don't square up, and then we'll come back and do our next step. I have all my half square triangles pressed. I pressed the seam open. I'll be honest, I typically press to the side on quarter square triangles for this first step, but it's such a small block, such small patchwork, that my blocks were pretty bulky. So I feel like this intersection, there's just not a lot to flatten it out. And so even though I just did some stitch in the ditch and back and forth in the plum, I don't know, I'm going to try it with pressing the seams open and see if it's easier. Okay, so here's what we're doing next. So I have this part done. Let's make sure you can see that. done this, and then there's a line there. So that means we're on step 2. So we have 6 and 6. So we're going to take 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're pairing them up with another 6 of the same, you know, maroon, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so those we're going to sew together. And then we're going to sew together 1 cream and maroon, and 1 cream and maroon. And then we're doing two of this, 2 of this, and 2 of this. So I'm missing one somewhere. Where have I put it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, do we have an extra one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right there. Okay, now to put them together, let's start with this one. When you make your quarter square triangles, we're going to be sewing the opposite direction. So here we have a seam going this way. Now we're going to sew perpendicular to the seam. And if I drew a line so that you could see it, I will do that on this one. So we're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam on each side of that line. So I need to line up, but I want to line up the seam. So this is seam's going this way, this one's going this way, and I line up the seams, but the colors are opposite. So put the maroon on the plum and the plum on the maroon. And then when we sew this, you can see we're going to get that 1/4 square triangle, and we'll get 2 of them. So I'm going to sew on each side of that line. So let me go sew, and then I'll come back and show. Angle. Here you can see I have sewn on each side of that line. So when I cut it in half, I'm going to get this block, and I'm going to get this block. So let's cut it in half. And I need to do that with all 12, so 6 and 6, so that I get 12 1/4 square triangles. And then press that seam open. This is also a good place to try using your little roller, you know, seam roller. This is a good place for that. I will see if I can find mine. It's just a way to speed up the process here. So there you can see you've got that. All right, and you do that with all of those. And then for this one, where you have the cream and the maroon, it's the same thing. You're going to set it up so that the cream is on the maroon and the maroon is on the cream here. And I just line up my edges, and you can pin it, you can peel it back and kind of look, am I close? Yes. When you press your seams to the side, if you press to the dark, then you actually get a little nest in there. You can feel where they align. But again, it creates a little bit of bulk, so I'm trying it this way. And you can use your diagonal seam tape, or you can draw a line. And then let's check. I always check. Oh, am I going to get that hourglass? You're looking for that, you know, 2 fabrics here, 2 fabrics here. Look. Okay, so that one, yes. And then I have one more. So we have 2 that are like this. Here you can see you have the maroon and maroon. So you still don't want to put the maroon on top of each other. So you want the maroon to not be on top. So fold it back, see what you're getting. Yes, that's what you want. You want it to have this maroon are opposite, and then the plum and the cream are opposite. So here is our line. Okay. All right, I'm going to sew on each side of those. We'll come back. I'm going to do all of these. And just remember, just to give yourself a check, just look at it before you sew. Just less unpicking. All right, I have all of them sewn together. And if you want to, you can do a quick check and just like, oh, double check before you cut it apart. Because if you put it together wrong and then cut it apart, there's really no fixing it. You just have to start over. And I just like, look, oh, is that maroon fabric opposite each other? Because that's the one I have the same of all through it. So now you're cutting apart, you know, on the new point to point that you sewed. And then go ahead and press this seam open. And then we're squaring each of these to 2 inches by 2 inches. Here are my 18 all done. Now they need to be squared to 2 inches. And for this, I just like to do it, oh, you know, where you just do it. I use this diagonal here. I have a, you know, the intersection of the 1, 1. So put that in the middle. And then I just try to hit those 2s out here on the seam. Do 2, and then there's not really, I haven't really found a faster way. And then rotate the block and then reposition trimmed edges on the 2s and trim whatever's left. And you're not trimming off a lot, but you still have plenty, you know, to trim off and get it nice and square. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of these. And then it'll be time to sew our 2 blocks together. And such a fun way to make a very intricate patchwork. This was one of the very first blocks I learned how to make in quilting. I was just fascinated with this hourglass quarter square triangle shape. And the fact that you could just do it out of, you know, squares. Okay, time to lay it out. I have all of my blocks done. And I'm just looking here at the dark and the light. So just do the, you know, this one has light at the top. So this next one is dark at the top. And then light. And this was our choice. I mean, you know, it's a quilt. You can make it do whatever you want it to. Like this in the middle could have totally been this layout right here. We chose to do this one. So again, you have lots of options here. You know, do one that you really like. Oh, not that way. And here. Okay, so that is laid out. I am going to sew rows together and then sew here, connect them. The first set of seams will press to the side, and then the next set I'll press open, and that will let me nest my seams seams at those intersections. And I'm going to make 2 blocks exactly the same. Whoop. Okay, here I have both of them sewn together. And again, you can see how the rows, the seams press to the side, and then when you sew your rows together, just press that seam open. And I do like it. I feel like there is less bulk in those intersections. These are just going to be bulky. You've got a lot of seams coming together, but very fun. So that's number 4, Big Dipper Patchwork.